Welcome to today's live stream, Move with Confidence, Exercise and Tech Tools for Life with Diabetes. I am Kayla Bowen, Digital Marketing Specialist at Byram Healthcare, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. Today we'll be joined by two amazing guests. First up is exercise physiologist and certified diabetes care and education specialist, Kathryn Alvarez, to talk about how to safely and confidently move your body while managing diabetes. Then we'll transition into the world of wellness tech with Lindsay Gregerson, who will talk us through Byram Connect powered by the WellDoc app and how it can help you manage your diabetes and stay motivated and supported. Byram Healthcare has been a national leader in patient-directed medical supply delivery for over 50 years. We're proud to have been named the best overall diabetic supply company by Verywell Health for 4 years in a row and to hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. At Byram, we believe that life takes care, and today's conversation is one way we're supporting your health journey. Before we dive in, please note this live stream is for informational purposes only and should not replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your exercise or diabetes care routine. So first, let's do some introductions. So, Kathryn, would you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my master's degree in clinical exercise physiology, and I'm also certified by the American College of Sports Medicine. And then I am a certified diabetes care and education specialist. And I work at Integrated Diabetes Services, working with people all over the world, which is really, really a cool experience. And I do a lot of different things with those people, but one of them includes activity. I hold a group exercise class over Zoom and also work with people on dialing in to ensure they can keep in their target glucose range during physical activity.
Awesome, thank you. And then Lindsay, will you give us a little intro as well?
Absolutely. Hello, I am a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. I support WellDoc as a clinical digital solutions specialist, which ultimately means we really work towards partnering to get the most out of utilizing this digital health resource. What fuels my passion in what I do is my own experiences. I've had type 1 diabetes for 40 years, and it led me to my career in nutrition, but I've really found just not only the benefits of exercise for my physical wellness, but my mental health as well. And so I actually really would consider myself an exercise junkie. Although I love talking nutrition as well, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining today. So first we're gonna talk about more exercise, living with diabetes in general, and then we'll jump into some of the awesome features of the Byram Connect powered by the WellDoc app. So Kathryn, can you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on living actively with diabetes and why movement matters in your diabetes management?
Yeah, absolutely. So I also live with type 1 diabetes and was an athlete growing up, and it's kind of what piqued my interest in this whole conversation because actually engaging in physical activity can sometimes increase the difficulty of management initially with diabetes. And that's because we often will need tweaks to how we're managing our blood sugars and diabetes strategies with physical activity. So if you live with type 1 diabetes and you begin to engage in physical activity, there's a lot of new variables that are going to have to be taken into account So a big thing is the timing of our insulin. If we go into physical activity with a lot of insulin on board, and this is for both people with type 1 or type 2 diabetes that take insulin. So going in with this active insulin on board, or what you'll see a lot, it referred to as IOB, it's the primary cause of hypoglycemia during activity. And the reason for that is our body is uptaking glucose and we're utilizing this insulin more efficiently as well. And then in addition to that, if we recently consumed something that our body didn't have time to finish digesting, the digestion of that food is going to slow down significantly because our body is focused on fueling the physical activity that we're doing. So our muscles and our lungs are what our body is focusing on at that time and not digesting that food. So if we have this insulin on board and we didn't make an adjustment for it, it's almost like a guaranteed low blood sugar. So we have to ensure we're working with our healthcare provider to make adjustments around mealtime and how we're going to dose our insulin around our physical activity. And then in addition to that, there's just so much to learn around physical activity and especially if you're taking insulin. So the type of activity will tend to have different impact on our blood sugar. Also, the timing of the activity will have a different impact on our blood sugar. So if we do our exercise in the morning, it's going to likely have a completely different impact than it would in the evening. So in the morning, we tend to be more resistant to the insulin. We might not need as much of an adjustment. So some hormones that we're producing. Whereas in the evening, we tend to be more insulin sensitive and would likely need more of an adjustment. Then we're also thinking about these hormones that we might be producing during some types of activity that we do. So if we're doing like heavy lifting, we tend to produce hormones that might cause an initial rise in our blood sugar. So initially we see this rise, but it's always going to improve our insulin sensitivity later on. So later on, we will likely need an adjustment. So the big things when we're starting an exercise program is to ensure we're tracking. So making sure we're taking note when we're doing that physical activity so that when we go back and we look at the charts or your logs, we can see what happened during the activity, but also what happened 12 up to 48 hours really after that physical activity to potentially see some adjustments. And then you might also need to talk to your healthcare provider. Like if you're on a medication like a sulfonylurea, you might need to explore other options or how you're going to prevent hypoglycemia with that particular medication.
Great insights. Lindsay, what do you have any thoughts on that from your like personal experience being an exercise junkie just in practice everyday life?
I couldn't agree more with Kathryn. I think it's step one is we are engaged or motivated, and that's a whole nother topic, but so many people with type 1 get discouraged because of the challenge of balancing insulin. And so just staying patient with the process. Knowledge is power. Understanding the concept of timing of day, I think, has been key, as well as of course the last timing of the meal insulin to really help understand what potentially could happen. Understanding our body does need fuel. I think often with diabetes, people think of carbohydrates as the enemy, but it's a good thing. It's our energy source. And there are times during exercise, you're not a failure if you need to eat. This is actually how the body's meant to run on fuel. So being prepared with having quick acting carbs and kind of thinking about a fueling plan to match up with the insulin on board, I guess would be really ways that I've been able to successfully achieve a lot of different events and goals that I've had and helped others do the same.
Yeah, and that's such a good note on making sure you have that fast-acting carbohydrate. And when you're looking at that, ideally, when you look at the ingredients on that rapid carbohydrate, the key is dextrose. So dextrose is two glucose molecules attached to each other, and nothing raises our blood sugar faster than dextrose. And most of the things that we hear to treat our low blood sugars with are going to have that. So glucose tabs, those glucose gels, sports drinks, most sports drinks like Gatorade. You can also do most hard candies, so things like Smarties, jelly beans, Skittles are all going to be very, very quick.
So Kathryn, during the month of April, we filmed some videos for Move More Month, and you talked a bit about how, like, realistic ways to incorporate movement into daily life. For anyone who may not have seen those videos, could you tell us a little bit more about that? Like how to start approaching incorporating movement?
Yeah. So we talked a lot about just like how to begin increasing your daily movement. And a lot of it, so you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And a lot of people have really busy schedules, especially here in America. So just trying to make the small changes will make a big difference. So in all the videos, like you can notice I was standing. I sat today so that I'm not rocking. But standing is huge because it's that alone can help improve our insulin sensitivity. So if you can, during your workday, maybe you can sit or stand during some of it, kind of do like a 50-50 split. Um, and there's a lot of like desk raisers you can get now, or you can like stack books even just to raise your desk and make it standing. Or if you have like a countertop in your kitchen, you could potentially use that as well. Um, Parking the car further away is always a good idea. So picking that spot that no one's parking at because everyone's trying to get a parking spot in the front.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that instead, taking the steps instead of an elevator whenever you have a choice, or an escalator is a really great easy thing you can do to help increase your daily movement. And then trying to figure out like what works with your schedule. Something else that we talked about is trying to incorporate a walk after meals,
Mm-hmm.
which is so incredibly helpful because so many people struggle with postprandial or that post-meal blood sugar rise, which can make us feel really fatigued. You know, if we are starting off with a blood sugar of say 100, and then after our meal we're at 265, it can make us feel pretty exhausted. And that bolus timing, so dosing ahead of time, is often a really hard thing for people with diabetes to do.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we don't pre-bolus, we don't get that dose of insulin ahead of time. Best thing we can do is get some movement, because that movement after is going to help keep our blood sugar nice and steady. Because like I mentioned earlier, it helps that insulin get to where it needs to work really efficiently and faster. And then in addition to that, that digestion is slowed down and our body's utilizing the glucose that we just ate. So we can get much better outcomes in that post meal blood sugar. Plus, it's great for your health. And from a physical activity standpoint, so both the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, and the American Diabetes Association recommend the normal, so the same guidelines as people without diabetes for most people. So also for people with diabetes is 150 minutes of moderate activity over the week, or
Mm-hmm.
70 vigorous is what's recommended to be healthy. And
Okay, so that's only like 2.5 hours, right?
mhm.
So that's pretty approachable.
Yeah.
I've loved hearing the term exercise snacks. I don't know if Kathryn,
Mm-hmm.
you've heard that term, but it's okay however you want to get that 150 minutes. If it means it's easier to focus, 60 minutes a couple days of the week, or break it up it all makes a difference. And so whatever works for you is the way to go.
Yeah, that like just doing, maybe aiming for 50 squats throughout the day. So whenever you get a chance, maybe you do 5 squats here, 10 squats there, just kind of add them up.
And as you mentioned earlier, about just parking a little farther away or taking the stairs instead of the elevator, I love doing that because it makes me feel like just and like during the day, like look at me, like I parked farther away than everybody else.
Yeah.
Or I took
Yeah.
the stairs when everybody took the elevator. Um, so that's great. And then Lindsay, as someone with expertise in like the dietitian like space, what are your thoughts on like the post meal exercise?
I couldn't agree more. It's a great strategy to help with reducing the post meal spikes or highs that we have. Um, we started earlier thinking about the timing of insulin and how that can actually cause more lows, but that's for those that maybe are wanting to do a spin class or go out and complete a 3-4 mile run. If low blood sugars has been an issue based off of the timing of the meal, then you're better off trying to complete the activity when more than 3 hours have passed since your last meal. But for the majority of us, from a day-to-day standpoint, having a little bit of movement after the meals can dramatically help with reducing how much spike, and you usually wouldn't, need to complicate things with insulin adjustments or medication adjustments. It's a strategy, it's a tool to help with what many of us are frustrated by is like, even with the most in tune to detail with a balance of meals, it's hard to not have a significant spike. So it can really help reduce that.
Yeah, and like Lindsay said, a little bit, because if you start walking afterward and maybe you start going for, you wind up walking 2 miles, now you're going to see that impact where was the digestion's been delayed for so long, you're going to dip. And then oftentimes as soon as you stop walking, and a lot of people will see this, especially like kids, like their kids go out to recess right after lunch, they get this dip in their blood sugar and then they go high because now that food is impacting again. So it's like it's so much balancing that we
Right.
And when I think going back to that 150 minutes a week, even if, for someone maybe not participating in, kind of thinking, okay, I'm motivated, I want to get started, I know this is something important to me, I just need to get started. Even if you break up that 10 minutes after each meal in a day, there's your 30 minutes, 5 days a week, you got your 150 minutes. So,
Right.
I think that the total number can seem daunting, but it can be paired with post-meal blood sugar management as well to really help from a blood sugar as well as again, that total health perspective.
Yeah, and I think another really important thing to note, because I feel like, it's almost scary what we're saying, like hypoglycemia, maybe some hyperglycemia as well. Um, it's definitely, you have to navigate a lot when you're beginning physical activity and starting up on an exercise program. But even if you're treating low blood sugars and while you're trying to dial it in, you're still getting all of the benefits of physical activity. And those are always going to outweigh consuming some extra carb or extra calories. Because a lot of people get really frustrated. They're like, I'm doing this physical activity to try to be healthier, and now I'm having to take in like this candy to bring my blood sugar up. But physical activity is going to improve our mood, going to lower our risk for cardiovascular disease. It can help with depression and anxiety, makes our insulin work better. And insulin sensitivity is so huge. Also, physical activity it can help remove that most unhealthy form of fat, which sits in the abdomen. So just engaging in physical activity, your fat will go elsewhere in your body, even if you don't lose weight. So lots of benefits, even if, you know, you're not seeing movement on the scale or you're having to catch your blood sugars for a bit of time.
And as two people who like to stay active, what are your favorite ways to be active in your day-to-day lives? Kathryn?
So I have one of those walking pads for my work
Mm.
day. I work full time, so I use my walking pad. So for a lot of my appointments, I'm just moving and grooving. And then
Nice.
I also chase a lot of children around, so I get a lot of running time there, which definitely counts.
Mm.
And then I also really enjoy strength training. So
Oh,
my
nice, nice.
yeah, my husband works at the gym, so it's kind of helpful. It gives a little bit of motivation.
Oh, okay, cool.
Power
Yeah.
couple. I love that. Ex-Phys, gym, but that's great. And I would respond, it's been so different with each age and stage in my life. That's really important to me, is diversifying what I do. So even you know, today or this season of my life, I love to be outdoors. If I can get outdoors and do anything, like whether it be walking or rollerblading, I'm all about it. Indoors, not as much of a fan, with the exception of lately, I also have been enjoying more strength training than what I've done in my past. So, but I love trying different things. I don't necessarily like consistency with certain. One day I might be in the pool, next day I might be playing tennis. I just love switching it up.
So good. Keep it fun. I can't believe you do rollerblading. Oh my gosh.
Well, I did play roller derby, competitive roller derby,
Ooh,
That's pretty
for
cool.
5 years. So yes,
wow,
as
that's
another
so
example,
cool.
I like to switch it up.
Did you
But
have
my
like a
my body
alter
doesn't want me
ego?
to keep playing roller derby. That would not be
Oh,
good.
yeah. Did you have like an alter ego name while you did
Yes, that's
roller derby?
required. So yes, my derby name is Lil Herc.
Oh, okay. Fun. Very cool. And then for any viewers, let us know in the comments what your favorite way to stay active is.
And if you
Um,
had a derby name, what would your derby name be?
right.
Let's hear
That's
it.
a great one. Right. Yeah. Any derby heads in the comments? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kathryn, for those insights. Before we shift into talking about the app, do you have like any like conclusion thoughts about like to share about exercise and diabetes management?
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources that are available at no cost. I would definitely recommend engaging on social media. There's so many groups that you can join where people will encourage you and can also help with some of those things that you see in navigating blood sugars in whatever activity you're trying to do. And you also connect with other people that are doing the same thing, which is always so nice. And definitely try and have conversations with your healthcare provider to help you spend more time in range and keep your glucose in whatever target you have personally that you're trying to achieve for yourself. And then there's so many apps like we're about to talk about, so many apps you can use for tracking, which is so incredibly helpful because if we track it, then we have the data to look back on and we can see what we need to adjust and refine for the next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathryn. Okay, so now let's shift gears to talk about how technology can support your movement goals, and help you stay on track. Specifically, the Byram Connect powered by the WellDoc app, which is an exclusive benefit for Byram Diabetes customers. If you are a current Byram customer, all you have to do is, excuse me, download the WellDoc app and use program ID Byram to get started now. Okay, so Lindsay, could you, for anybody who isn't familiar, could you give a brief overview on what Byram Connect powered by the WellDoc app is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, WellDoc is an application that allows for, yes, self-monitoring or tracking, whatever you like to refer it to. I think a lot of us, when we say logging, our eyes kind of roll back. We don't really like that, do we? But there are a lot of value in doing so, and it should be a resource to make it easier to log. Further, the WellDoc application, besides housing a lot of different resources and being able to connect to activity trackers or blood glucose meters or blood pressure cuffs, there's quite a few connected devices. You can also, of course, manually enter information, but we know that we gain a lot of insights and power through data, but it can be a lot to manage in our head, or even working with an expert like Kathryn. It can be hard to navigate all those details. So it houses those details, but then it also turns it into there's AI coaching or insights on patterns. So it allows, I believe, for we like to say, for more of a connected care type of conversation for those that are meeting with the Kathryns out there, or their physician, to be able to really dive into understanding pattern management. But the application does significantly draw insights and patterns to help empower us.
Fantastic. Um, so if you want to maybe share your screen and give us, there you go, right on top of it. Yeah, give us a little walkthrough of some of the physical activity features.
Yeah, so what you're seeing at this time is the home screen. And I right away want to draw your eyes to that lower right-hand corner where we see more. And in the more section is connections and devices. And as I just mentioned, you can connect with your activity tracker. So that takes out the burden of remembering to, or having to do those extra logging, having that autofill, so to speak. And then, even though we will be focusing on the resources and the support for physical activity, I just want to call out again the slew of different devices that you can connect. We know that often with diabetes, it's the management piece is, when we apply exercise as well, is, well, what was my starting point and what was my midway point? What was my finishing glucose level? So you can also connect blood glucose meter, as well as if you're using Libre or Dexcom. So again, when we think about the many variables that are involved with diabetes management, we, as much as we're encouraged to participate in physical activity, there is some thinking through of these details. So the more that we can have synced and coming through, again, can have that better insights, as well as reporting or having that information when you do perhaps work with a specialist, or maybe yourself is really tuned in and you like the reporting. So there's a way that you can circle back and retrieve progress reports and summaries of your activity, your nutrition, and the information that you're tracking. So that was kind of a good first step to get started if you have an activity tracker, to sync it, and perhaps any of those other devices. But I also think another great place to start is at the top where we see my goals. You can start a new goal. And the way that WellDoc really focuses on total health, we know with I know firsthand, I can take the right amount of insulin to the carbs that I'm eating, but if I didn't sleep well, or I'm stressed, or maybe I haven't gotten any movement in 4 days, it's been a busy work week, I'm going to see my blood sugars impacted by that. So we all have different, perhaps, areas of our health that we like to focus on. But being that the theme is physical activity, let's go ahead and choose that first goal to be more active and fit. And then it's going to guide, just as it's been highlighted, that the aim for people with diabetes is at least 150 minutes of physical activity a week. And kind of zoning in on maybe ways that you would want to be reminded, or there are a lot of activities. Not everyone might be like me, where I like to switch it up day to day. Maybe it's a few different activities that you like to focus on. And then what's the duration of how long you'd like to focus on this goal? Do you want a reminder? You can toggle that off if you'd like, but we get a recap of saying what we're focusing on. And then up top now, you'll have an easy tracker to achieve that 150 minutes. So I really like initiating that goal, because it might be midweek for me and I see, it's 25 minutes. I'm like, whoa, let's let's pick it up here. So it really helps zone in on meeting or achieving that aim of 150 minutes. And then if you did want to, you could, or if what you had access to wasn't a smartwatch or an activity tracker, so to speak, you can manually enter it. So I just hit that big yellow button on the lower right-hand corner to say enter. And I can go ahead and log that for 30 minutes, or let's say 20 minutes. Did some gardening. After saving it, just to highlight, again, now we can see how that's starting to join that that total duration in up top with the My Goal.
That's really awesome.
Yes, I think there's power in a visual, and
Yeah.
how it can continually keep us engaged or empowered to do so.
Right.
There's also challenges. Here we can see Steady Steps is the challenge currently pulled up, and journaling options. So here we're guided to reflect on what's holding us back from being active. But anytime you want, maybe as you're really starting, you're picking up your duration, or you're trying, that's the other challenge, is how when you walk, it might result in a different impact on your blood sugar than when you do strength training. So the different modes of the activity can have a different response. The timing of the day, there's all these details that get really kind of heavy to keep track of. And so you can think of WellDoc as a landing page to keep those details, and that might include journaling. And you can maybe jot a quick note on, even though you might have logged the activity, and there are options that you could log what you consumed. Okay, I had a banana right before. That's an option within the application, but maybe you want to summarize all together in a journal entry, so that again, when you're reflecting and maximizing, trying to focus on your diabetes management as well, that's an option.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love seeing it reflected like in that progress bar through the week. That's really satisfying.
Yes, that's a good word. Very satisfying.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few resources that I'm going to introduce. First being in the resource library. So at the very bottom where we see resources, there is an exercise video library, and there are quite a few videos that, again, I admitted myself, I love to be outside, but I also know that sometimes I only have 10 minutes and I don't have time to get dressed and get outside. So there are a lot of ways that you can also participate, or maybe you know the benefit of strength training, but don't know, want to have some guidance there. That's a new type of exercise for you. So it helps to have the voice of a coach, or kind of directions there. So in the exercise video library, I would strongly encourage you to use that filter in the upper right-hand corner. And I would do that over some of the search engines. I just will give you the heads up. The filter is really the way to go. And then you can see you can filter based off of the challenge of the activity. So I'm going to choose beginner. And then you can also filter by the category. So there are quite a few categories of exercise videos that are in this library. I've been a fan of this bar because bar is it's strength training, but you don't need weights. And so again, I think for anyone getting started, it's a gentle and effective way to get started. And so here we can see, you could also filter by the duration, but the videos make it pretty clear over what time frame. And as a heads up, I'm really have been enjoying these 10-minute upper body and this long and lean bar. So again, that's been my go-to the last couple weeks.
That's great.
And then in addition to the exercise library in our learn section, which is again on that bottom where we see learn, there is a physical activity category, but maybe again, you're saying, I keep hearing that I'm supposed to strength train. And keep me honest, Kathryn, but most of the time we say aiming for 2 strength training sessions a week would be the ideal inclusion.
2 to 3.
2 to 3, yep. So maybe I want to learn more about strength training. And so I searched up top, and in addition to the video library, there are some, again, kind of getting started additional videos here. Here we're seeing an example of core, and there was knee and hip. So there, in addition to watching videos for content, you can also perhaps, if it's interesting to you, to read up on, here we have strength training and weight loss, or strength training for everyone, adding more in our daily life. So if that's your route, where maybe reading a little bit up on a topic inspires you, that's another resource that's found within the WellDoc application.
I know Kathryn had a question about other types of exercises. Kathryn, do you want to ask Lindsay about that?
Yeah, is there workouts that people, maybe if they have some limitations, could do seated in there?
There are.
Nice. Okay. So just seated specific. That is excellent.
Yep.
Great.
And WellDoc continually is focused on meeting the needs of, who we support, and continually adding videos. So I will be clear that there are a few videos, but I do know that we continually are trying to expand and evolve, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more in that category.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's so important, especially for that large population that needs that.
Mm-hmm. So kind of the wraparound, I feel, with when we think of WellDoc as a helping us navigate the details, and the in the diabetes world, we all know the power of self-management. There's so much built around this concept of self-management, but also when we do have additional insights and progress notes that can be provided through WellDoc, but also how we can share that information back. So I'd like to show you how easy it is to share with someone that's perhaps supporting you with your healthcare team. So again, in that lower right-hand corner where we see more, I'm going to go to health information and then health report. And I can easily send it to my primary care physician or my endocrinologist or my diabetes educator. And again, that would be a summary of, yes, all of whatever someone is putting into the app. So it could be activity related, it could be in addition to food, sleep information. And so again, just helps to connect the dots for us.
That's great. So that could be a way for someone to send their exercise log to someone like Kathryn.
Yes. And then if we think through whether someone's syncing with their blood glucose meter, or if they are entering their blood sugar information, it's, we all are very familiar with those log books, depending on, there's a good chance we've all at one point had a printed out version and someone in front of us pointing something out or circling, hopefully less circling in red as was my childhood. But it's more than ever, I think we are in a time where we know how significant when someone doesn't have data, it can be really challenging. But whether it's blood glucose or continuous glucose monitoring information, it can be challenging for someone to help us when, okay, one day you went up to 200 after this time of day. The next day you went down to 60. What happened there? It's like, I don't remember what I ate yesterday, let alone what happened 6 days ago. So again, connected to the many details to have a richer and helpful conversation.
Yeah, Kathryn, what do you think about like integrating a tool like this into, your work with patients?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love that it has the motivation aspect and the workouts in it as well. For the people that I work with, I always have them enter in like just, you're kind of limited of what you can enter in on the, places like Gluco and the different data platforms. You can only really put small little pieces of information in. So, the bigger the picture, the better. So.
Right. Yeah, I love how all-encompassing this app is. It really does give the big picture.
Yeah, people with diabetes are asked to track so much, and it's wonderful that there's continual expansion on the many different tools that are out there, but it can be overwhelming. So that's certainly WellDoc's mission, is to reduce some of the burdens people living with chronic health conditions experience, and to really help with not just the education component, credible information. We appreciate Dr. Google, but there is a wild world out there that you can also come across. I couldn't agree more earlier, the statement made about connecting with community, using social media. Again, wonderful, wonderful there. It's not a replacement. It's just thinking through all the many tools that we have. And this WellDoc can certainly provide some of those tasks that people with diabetes are asked to perform, and as well as hopefully providing many of the different resources to complete those tasks.
That's fantastic. So maybe for folks who might get started with the Byram Connect powered by the WellDoc app after this live stream, what might be a good place for them to start?
I would start with two things. Go to the More Connect device and start connecting what you perhaps have. There's a good chance something falls in there. If you have any questions at all with this process, there is customer care to help you with that. So I'm going to back out and even show you that there's a help section, and then contact us. And there's your number right there to go ahead and reach out to the app experts to assist if you did want additional help with syncing any of your devices. So that is a great place to start. And then secondly, I would get that activity goal set up. So again, we started a new goal, and be active and fit was up top there. If you're feeling inspired to maybe pick a few goals, but we all know that there's a lot of strength in small, starting with something. And so I would encourage you, just start with the one, and let's start with being active, and start to receive, if you don't have an activity tracker, that the other task then for you would be to go to that big yellow button, and when you do participate in physical activity, choose that activity key. And of course you can do it in the time of, or maybe when you're complete, you can go back and say, yes, a couple hours ago I did this. That all counts. That all, whatever works for you. But those would be the places that I would suggest to start.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that walkthrough. And there are so many other features, as Lindsay discussed in last month's live stream. We did a deep dive into the eating, diet, nutrition aspects. There's so much there. And then just so many different devices that you can sync. There's just like so much to explore. And it's really, I think, a revolutionary resource for diabetes management nowadays. So if anyone watching has tried Biorum Connect powered by the WellDoc app, either for tracking your activity goals or other features of the app, let us know in the chat. And so now we're getting towards the end of our session today. So just any like closing thoughts, Kathryn, on exercise for diabetes management in general, or like what, your thoughts are on the app?
Yeah. So, I mean, apps are great for helping you to stay motivated, because motivation can be incredibly difficult in our busy lives. So having something that kind of keeps us on track is always a good thing. Coaches might not be realistic, so apps you can kind of look at as a great thing. And just really want to emphasize that the physical activity is beneficial no matter what. It's going to help with mood and energy and just overall health and well-being. So incredibly important.
Great, thank you. And then Lindsay, any closing thoughts?
I think broader with the applying, staying, it's confidence in movement, but also, just getting that one step forward, putting those shoes on, whatever that looks like for you, just knowing that we definitely can appreciate the many variables, the many challenges that go into to managing diabetes, but then sometimes when exercise is brought into the mix, it actually is another variable that can make it challenging. But hang in there, as really highlighted. There's so many benefits, and the WellDoc application can really help drill into some of those details to find a team or find a support team to help you really drill through those different challenges that you may be experiencing. I think in general, we just have a society that isn't getting, we all are aware that as much as we love technology, it's also perhaps in ways limited some of the positives as far as movement. So figure out what works for you. If it means scheduling with a walking buddy, that's another great to stay motivated. I used to be really able to do something on my own if it was a thought I had or on my calendar, so to speak. Now I really want a buddy to do it with. So just appreciate and don't give yourself, I think often with diabetes, we also give ourselves it's hard to absorb all the would have, should have's, I should be doing this, and just give yourself some grace with that and figure out what works for you. If it's signing up for a new class, if it's signing up for pickleball lessons, trying something new if that speaks to you, or finding that buddy, putting it on your calendar, whatever, we're all so unique in that. So just appreciating that piece too.
Awesome. So true. Well, thank you again, Kathryn and Lindsay, for joining today. It was a pleasure speaking with you on this topic. For our viewers, if you're a Byram customer and you're ready to take the next step in your diabetes management journey, we invite you to download the WellDoc app and use program ID Byram today to get started. And then before we conclude, I just need to restate that this live stream is for informational purposes only. It should not replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your exercise or care routine. And if you don't already follow us on Instagram, check us out at Byram Diabetes Care, where we posted our videos with Kathryn for Move More Month earlier in the month. And each month we explore different topics in diabetes management. So check us out there. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening.